Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, thanks for watching Common Sense Fishing. If you're watching this live, well, good night. Unless you're over there in UK, then I think it's good morning. So appreciate everybody. Thanks for joining. And I've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to give you guys the juice on all the lakes, basically break down what's going on since I don't have any tournaments for the next couple weeks. Or the one tournament that I do have is at a lake that I feel very comfortable with just going and fishing it. And I'm going to do a pre-fishing trip Wednesday for that, but I'm not really worried about that tournament. So it is nothing like the Mother Lode Lakes. It's more akin to the Delta, which I haven't been at for a couple months now. Usually in the wintertime, I tend to shy away from the Delta. So I'll be back there at the Delta soon. The bite should be picking up into pre-spawn there in a couple weeks. The river levels are real low, so warm water. Delta is going to turn on a little earlier this year. Usually it's a little late because it has such cold water, but we're gonna have a good show tonight. I'm gonna try to put you guys on them at Lake McClure, Lake Don Pedro, New Maloney's, and we'll also discuss a little bit about Delta, some other stuff. And if you're in another state watching this, then we're going to discuss some things that should definitely help you guys. Just got to pay attention to moon phase, water temperature, and water clarity, really. And is the lake really coming up, going down, or is it at a steady state? So if you know those few answers, then you guys have most of what you need, and I'll give you the rest. And we're going to have a good night tonight. So if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to fire away. Smash that subscribe if you're new here. And don't forget to hit that like button on the way in. Or if you're taking off for a bit, don't forget to hit it on the way out. So, hey, Ray, thanks for watching. Appreciate you very, very much. Also, just want to let everybody know, don't forget about the members giveaway that we're going to be having, and also subscriber giveaway. So the members, you guys are good to apply or basically enter both giveaways. So you can jump in on the members giveaway, and you can also jump in on the subscribers giveaway. So don't miss that. Should be coming up here in the next couple of days. I'm thinking probably Thursday I'll drop a giveaway video, and Friday we'll round it all out, and we'll either do it that Friday or next Monday or something, give you guys some time. So because usually not everybody's on, and I'll give you a window to like and comment, that way you guys can get entered. So with that being said, hope everybody's had a great night. Sorry I'm late. I know I'm supposed to be on at least 7 o'clock. Didn't get on until about just now because was eating dinner and just slipped the time. It's Valentine's Day. I cooked a nice little meal for the family, got some flowers for the girls. I got chocolates and stuff. And then I made sure, I have 4 kids. So I made sure to buy my boys some, stuff too. So got Valentine's Day stuff for everybody. Mark, how's it going? Have you tried BFS gear? Oh yeah, the finesse bait fishing finesse stuff, right? Yeah, I haven't yet. I'm probably gonna look into getting a nice little BFS rod and reel so that I can use that. It's the drag system on a spinning reel that I like, and but we'll see how it goes. I've heard a lot about the BFS stuff, so we're gonna look into that and definitely look at using some of that. Maybe coming up this summer, if the bite gets real finessey and they go deep, or for next winter. So usually finesse stuff is a wintertime tactic. If it's in the spawn, I'm not usually too finessed out. There are some times when you have to kind of be finessed to get them to bite, and you have to put the bait just on the bed. So spawn can be tricky during a certain window. They can actually be kind of hard to catch. But I think I got one for you guys. Have you ever heard of a flogger? I'm looking at probably getting one to do some practice with. And also, if we have I think I'm going to have a tournament in April, so there should still be fish on beds. So I want to use a flogger, drive around the lake and see what I can find with the flogger. And then after the flogger, basically mark everything and then try to come back for it later. Hey, Pantera. Nice, nice. Oh yeah, balsa baits, so wood baits for sure. You know, I gotta reach out and try to get some BFS gear. I got a couple of manufacturers that I was looking at. I got a couple of friends that fish their stuff, turning it on to me. So I'll try it out for sure. Let you guys know. Oh yeah, common sense fishing. Appreciate you, Pantera, and Mark and Ray and everybody else who joins tonight. Again, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And if you guys are interested tonight, I'm going to talk fishing all night long. But I've been actually going through all of my sports cards and stuff. You guys would be surprised. I've got Willie Mays, Ty Cobb. I've got Hank Aaron, Juan Maricol. I've got autographed from almost every player you can imagine. So I was going through and kind of, here's a Willie McCovey, older card right there. Nothing special. Buster Posey, refractor, graded 10. So I've got a bunch of different stuff here. I'm just going through. So my whole little setup's all destroyed right now. So if you guys are into sports, these guys this card was almost a really hot card. They just didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So anyways, if you're interested in talking sports, I'm always game. I'm sure you guys see that stuff in the back. But fishing wise, I'm really excited to put you guys on the fish. I know where they're at. I know what they're biting on. So buckle up. We've got a good show for you guys tonight. And like I said, don't forget we have 2 giveaways coming. So make sure you guys have your notification bells checked. That way, when I put a video out, you guys can jump in and check it out. And also, you don't miss a giveaway. So, long story short, it's almost spawn. Water temperatures at some of the lakes were between 56 and 58. Some lakes I'm hearing are at nearly 60 something degrees. Hey, Charles Chalk, how's it going tonight? So, we're going to have a full moon. I think we're almost at a full moon. Should be a full moon in a day or two. So, the very first wave of fish should be coming up to spawn right now. And I know that's crazy. We're talking mid-February. Usually it's the tail end of February, but early bird gets the worm. So I know a lot of guys. So for example, we're going to talk about the BBT McClure tournament. We came in 30th place. We were just outside of the money. Snapped 2 fish off and lost 2 fish. And we had a rat, man, that was barely just over a pound, a keeper that was just super dinky. If we could have culled that one out, we would have been in the money. And then we had another one that was maybe a pound and a half. And if we could have called that one out, we would have probably been close to like 2nd through 5th place or something like that. So, hey, Fishing with Jax. And Ronald Roquemore, good evening. But we definitely were this close to placing in like the top 5 and the same to cashing a check. We just screwed up, made some mistakes. That video is going to be coming out soon, probably like next week. And so anyways, I know a lot of guys who were catching 8-9 pounds, and 7 pounds. They were fishing in 25 to 40 feet right now. So if you're at the Motherlode Lakes, I'm being told by everyone around me, all my friends, all the guys hitting me up on Facebook Messenger, on Instagram, they were happy that I gave them advice. So a lot of them, they went out and actually had some really good days the last week or two, and fishing slow and dragging the bait, not hopping it too much, and catching 20, 30 fish a day of good sized fish. So excited to report that that's working out. However, Pantera Classic video should be good. I see see it on my end. So if it doesn't fix itself, let me know here in a minute. It should be good. So I don't know. Does anybody else have any problems with the video? Is the video quality fine? Sometimes, maybe a glitching or something. Don't know. But we were catching all our fish in like 5 feet of water. I kid you not. We were pitching right up onto the bank and moving it down real slow. And anywhere between 5 and 10 feet of water, we were catching nice bass. But we really didn't capitalize on a couple of small mistakes that were just this close, man. We were this close. So I'm excited. Hopefully we're going to stick it out and fish some more tournaments together, me and Buffalo. and we'll see how the whole season goes. I mean, if not, I'm still going to be fishing in my boat in tournaments. So, okay, appreciate you guys. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. So I'll be in my boat for sure, doing some tournaments. We're going to be fishing a Salt Springs tournament here this Saturday, and I'll be pre-fishing it this Wednesday. All right, awesome. So if you guys are interested in sports too, by the way, check this out. That's a rare one that's worth a pretty penny right there. Ricky Henderson graded rookie card. So I have a ton of autographed, graded patch cards, rookie cards. I have literally piles all around me. I could reach anywhere at any given moment and pull a pile of like graded autograph cards. So I apologize. My desk space has been I'm just basically trying to fund the next couple months of my fishing because I own my own business. So I'm putting all this stuff on eBay, at least the stuff I don't want to keep. So all my Niner gear, most of my stuff I'm keeping, but some of the stuff over here, autographed footballs, basketballs, got a ton of autographed jerseys. This whole bucket is full of autographed stuff. Look at that. We got 3 footballs, a boxing glove. No, 4 footballs. I think there's more. And then a ton of jerseys, photos. So my whole room's exploded right now, getting prepared and stuff. So I'm putting a bunch of stuff up on eBay. So it's like, it's been a crazy, hectic week. But anyways, I'm super excited. So it's about to be full-blown spawn. So you don't want to be those guys fishing. I mean, if the bigger fish are out there, fine. But you guys don't want to be the guys stuck in 30 to 40 feet of water still dangling a worm, mid-March until you realize, oh, goodness, they're actually up there now. Because sometimes when it's early spawn, you'll go to look for beds and you won't find any beds and you won't see any fish because they'll move out of the way. By the time you pull up there, you spook them off and you look and it appears like there's no fish, but really there might have been a few the moment before you got there. The other thing is with incoming water right now, any rain, any snow melt, most of the lakes are going to be a little dirty. And then if you have a lot of traffic, like during a tournament, the waves smashing into the shore will dirty up that first 4, 5, 6 feet and create like a muck line. So you may not see them, but please believe me, the bass right now are definitely in like 1 to 5 feet, 10 feet of water, as well as, yes, there's bass in 25, 40 feet. Just right now, the bite is still slow. Cast right up and drag it down real slow. And then another key is look for areas that are near spawning flats. You don't want to be on the spawning flats yet. They're not pulled up on the spawning flats. They're near them. They're shallow. They're up there looking, but they're not making beds yet. So they're active, but they're not feeding actively, the ones up shallow. So they're probably feeding out deep and then moving up shallow, in which case if a lure passes by them, they'll take it, but it's got to be real slow. So they're not hitting the crankbait. They're not hitting the spinnerbait yet, but soon. Make sure you have them on your boat. Make sure you have some top water. Make sure you have a spinnerbait. Make sure you have a crankbait. Make sure you have those 3 specific lures would be my opinion, maybe even a jerkbait. Make sure you have those lures on and start fishing up shallow and casting parallel, not at the shore and out. Get up shallow and cast along, because if there's 2 or 3 fish up there against the shoreline, instead of guessing and you may have a 20-foot shoreline and you throw a cast here, cast here, cast here, and cast. So you get 4 casts, but there could be 2 or 3 feet in between your casts, and there could be a bass sitting there, and you pull your lure down quick enough, it may not want to go after it. But if you bring it parallel, let's say there's those same 4 bass on that same 20-yard or 20-foot stretch, and you bring that lure this way, they're going to have a chance to hit that. And bottom bouncing, you can get snagged a lot doing that, but it works. But when the crankbait and spinnerbait bite pick up, God, it's going to be like nothing else. I can't wait. So I'm excited for that to happen, for these fish to start feeding up. And the jig bite is going to be turning on. It's probably already on right now, throwing a jig up shallow and dragging it down. So just fish slow, fish shallow, but don't box yourself in. So I would start shallow And way I would work myself is down to about 40 right now. So if you're seeing all my new Maloney's videos where I'm crushing them in like 50 to 60, they're not there no more. They're moving up. So you need to make sure you're checking in 25 to 40, as well as 5 to like 10 or 15. So use your graph, pay attention, but still there's a lot of fish that are if I had to pick one style, what is the most productive way to fish? Oh, I would say that if you want numbers, a drop shot catches fish winter, spring, summer, fall. It will catch fish all times of the year, but it's going to be predominantly smaller fish. If you're wanting bigger fish and numbers and stuff, a jig. So the answer is complicated because it depends where I'm fishing. If I'm at the Delta, if I'm at the California Delta, I'd prefer to throw a square bill crankbait all day and just cover water until I stumble across those big honking feeding fish that will just crush my square bill. I've caught a ton of eights, nines, and I've got double digits. I've got two of them on crankbaits. And a crankbait is one of my favorite ways to catch fish, hands down. Most productive, though, would have to be something as far as numbers would go. And in a clinch, if you needed to put 5 in your live well for a tournament, either a drop shot or a Ned rig would be my clutch lure, um, with a jig being like close into third. And then if I was talking about reaction, it would easily be a crankbait over top water, over any of that. Now it's fun watching your top water bait get exploded, but there's nothing more disheartening than watching a double digit explode on your top water and then never coming back. And you throw Cinco at it, you throw all these other lures at it, and they don't want to come back. It just enrages me. When a fish hits my crankbait, it's hooked every time. I don't ever miss a fish on a crankbait, barely. Top water, I mean, it just they miss them sometimes. They'll fly out and they'll actually come out of the water air jaws and land on your bait, and you still won't hook them. They'll come up from underneath, and then by the time you actually set the hook, the fish is actually kind of through the bait out. Um, it's so top water's fun, but I'd have to say I definitely finish off your question with a crankbait and a drop shot and a jig. I just have to say, hey, Marco, now that I got you on, I just want to let you know I'm going to be sending your members lure pack. You're the only one I'm just behind right now. I'm going to send it to you. It's just been my life's just been super thrown upside down the last 2 weeks, but I'm super excited to get you your stuff. I think RC Creative, we got you yours, right? But if I haven't, you guys let me know. But Marco, I know I haven't sent you yours, and so since I'm late, I'm going to throw in an extra lure. So we're going to throw probably like a nice extra wake bait or something in there. What rod do I use for cranking? I have a what is it? The EX6 or whatever it's called, the G Loomis glass crankbait rod, medium action. But to tell you the truth, like that rod is great, but it's almost a little too flimsy. It works really good for like smaller crankbaits, and it's very, very sensitive. But the rod is just very soft, right? So believe it or not, I tend to like any medium action, cheap ass Walmart rod for crankbaiting. What I'd usually do is take 10 or 12 pound test, and I would throw usually I'm going to fish with an Ish Monroe. I'm looking to see if I have one right here. I don't think I do. My boat's right next door. I could go grab the stuff. Well, right on the other side of that wall. But an Ish Monroe Biggie Papa or the Biggie Smalls are going to be my go-to cranks all the time, almost, unless I'm doing deep cranking or medium cranking. But an Ish Monroe square bill is what I'm throwing, and I'm using it on something that you would consider to be kind of like, think about a trout rod where it's just got a ton of flex and bend. That's kind of what I want. And but it's got to have a little bit of some backbone. So a medium action. Honestly, okay, I'm going to tell you the brand, the name, and everything. You can laugh, but I've already got two double digits on it, and Yeah, two double digits and a ton of eights and one 9 pounder on it. And that would be my favorite Jimmy Houston Hog Hunter. It's a camouflage rod that they used to sell at Walmart. You could get the rod and the reel for $49.99, medium action. And yes, I'd crankbait with a spinning rod, believe it or not, because I could take that spinning rod, and I know you can do this with a bait caster, but if everything isn't perfect, you can get backlashes. You just be a headache, right? And the way a bait caster drag works is when it pulls out, it digs the line into the spool, and it cinches it. And so what can happen is even after a bit of that, and then you reel it in, then your next cast, you go to cast, and it can backlash or hang up because there's some line over it, kind of it dug into there. And so I actually used to, and I still do a bit, but I used to just be really good at taking a spinning rod and flip that bell, hold my line, and I could and throw that thing underneath. I could have a foot of clearance with a big tree and branch, and I could toss that lure right underneath there. And any mess ups, I could just snap the bell and pull it back, and I could prevent my lure from going into the tree or whatever. If I do that with a bait caster, say I try a perfect cast, I do a little pitch, or I try this little ninja sidearm stuff or whatever, and it isn't perfect. If I try to stop it, most of the time I'm going to have some backlash because just remembering how to use your thumb, how to do everything, even though I've been fishing for a long time, it can still be a little tricky. So I grew up fishing a spinning rod, and so it's just really comfortable in my hand. But to be honest, the last few years I haven't been fishing like that. So I've been fishing primarily with a bait caster medium. It's the G Loomis. I think it's the EF6 or EX6. I forget what it's called. It's a glass crankbaiting rod, but that's my favorite. And then after that would probably be a jig. So yeah, those are my favorite. A crankbait and a jig, but productivity would have to be a Ned rig or and a drop shot, or a drop shot then a Ned rig. So, anyways, long-winded answer to that. Sorry about that, folks. But if you guys give me a question, I'm going to love it when you call me Big Pop. But right, Charles knows what's up. Yeah, those crankbaits are awesome, man. But no problem. I appreciate every single one of you, RC Creative, Marco, Mark, Charles, Ray, Ronald, all you guys, Gerbs, Pantera. So anybody I missed, all the people too that usually jump on, all you guys are great. Virgil, all the other guys that jump on here. So got a cool little crew here. That's all I could say. And I love helping out. Hopefully my tips and tricks help out. But just remember, if that water temperature is above 55, so this is what I was told by a trout fisherman. Oh, yeah. Have you or anyone on this chat experienced interference issues on your graphs when running the trolling motor? So, for example, if your sensitivity is too high and if the transducer is too close to the back of the trolling motor, when you run that thing and all that water rushes across it, because the water's going opposite way, right? But you have the water like a Venturi effect being pulled across it and then pushed the other way. So when your trolling motor is giving you interference on your transducer, that's a sign that it's not placed right, and or you may be using something like a triple shot and it's just a really big transducer. And also your sensitivity may be up a little high. Try turning your sensitivity down a little bit. Make sure your settings are set for the right depth that you're fishing. You can set it to auto and it'll auto adjust, but if like you're fishing the delta, set your depth to 20 feet or something, so it's not going any deeper than that. Unless you're fishing out on the main channel and you're fishing out on deeper 30, 40 feet of water, okay, great. But like Lake McClure, Don Pedro, New Maloney's, you want that on auto so it can ping down to at least 100 feet, especially if you're fishing in the winter. You want to be able to hit 90 to 100 feet. There are times I've caught bass in about 110, I think, or 100. Somewhere between 100 and 110 is the deepest I've ever caught a bass. And I want to say they're almost exclusively all dinks when you go past 90, but there's occasionally you'll catch a decent one. Usually those fatties will hang out in that 50 to 70 range. So, am I fishing tomorrow? Yeah, I was going to go fishing tomorrow. I had a buddy hit me up and ask me and say what's up if I wanted to go. Said he had it off and all that. Like, hey, I want to go fishing. And I told him, yeah, hey man, you want to go? Let me know. Three texts in, he never hit me back up. So, unfortunately, what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm taking my dad to a doctor's appointment in the morning, and his car's having issues. So, I'm going to help him get that all situated. So, Wednesday, though, I'm going to be at Salt Springs. I'll be fishing that for a tournament this Saturday. So, I'm going to record the pre fishing at Salt Springs. I'll tell you guys how I'm fishing and where I'm fishing and what I'm fishing. And if you're one of the people that are going to be fishing against me, I don't care. Good luck to everybody. It's a small lake. It reminds me of Kelsey, and it's a lot like Kelsey. It's a lot like the Delta minus current. So it has no current, has no tide, but there's a ton of vegetation in it that isn't in other lakes. It's got a ton of hydrilla. It's got a ton of offshore stuff. It's got a top water weeds that float around everywhere. I forget if it's pennywort or whatever it is. But there's all kinds of different vegetation in that lake. There's some offshore boulders. There's a big rocky dam. There's some big spots outside in the mid or not outside in the offshore where there's big weed patches and then big drop offs, and the fish will hang out in those weeds and face out into the open water. So you fish those weed edges. There's a lot of cool stuff to do at Salt Springs. Salt Springs is a little known lake. Not a lot of people know it. I don't think you can have more than like 20 something boats on it, 30 boats on it. There's a limit. So it's like first come, first serve. They do camping and stuff. It's a great little lake. A lot of people don't like when you blow it up because it's such a small lake. However, Tyler Frey's already blown it up. A bunch of other people have already blown it up. I've been there, did a video on it, and we did good, but it didn't blow up. So it's like, I mean, if you're a big YouTuber, maybe you could blow it up, but I'm not trying to blow up any spots. I'm just trying to help you guys. So when I tell you guys tips and tricks, what I'm really trying to focus on is how I'm catching them, what lures and in what positions in the water column, what they're holding on, because I strongly believe that the bass in this state, right, in California, in your state, in your areas, unless you're in a different climate. So, for example, Southern California has a different climate than the Bay Area, has a different climate than Northern California has a different climate, and the Central Valley slash the Sierra Nevadas has a different climate. So, in my opinion, Maloney's, Don Pedro, and McClure will all kind of fish similar. Not exactly the same, and they may turn off and on at different times, but they're similar. And you can usually take a pattern from one lake, work it at other lakes, and then build upon there. If it doesn't work, you already have an idea. Hey, No Limit Off Road, glad to see you on tonight. So, didn't you say did you change your name? Oh, Fishing with Jax. Okay, yeah. So, hey, but Instagram account. Yeah, Sambo209. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, Sambo209. If you have a Facebook page and you want to follow me there, my real name's Samuel Matthews, so you can follow me there. Just send me a friend request. I answer all my messages. I talk to everybody that I can as much as I can. So I mean, I'm sometimes busy chatting with people and doing stuff, but thankfully, I guess in a good way and a bad way, my channel's not that big yet. So I'm not like constantly getting bombarded. Like I'm sure guys like Tactical Bass and Greg Blanchard, Milliken, those guys, they probably get hammered with like, you know, emails and text messages or messages on Facebook if they even give out their information. I don't know if they do or not. But like guys like Greg Blanchard, you might message him on Facebook, you might never respond. I'll respond to you. It just depends on how it goes, whether we keep talking. But I'm pretty open, and maybe hopefully that's what sets me apart from other guys and gals, and hopefully this channel will go some places. Very open. I want to share. I want to help teach. And I don't have a lot to teach as far as like I do, but I don't. Like I'm not this pro. I'm not trying to teach guys who've been in the game for a long time. I'm not trying to like you have to do it this way or that way. But even when like me, even when I've been fishing for like 20 years, 25 years now, actually, when I've been fishing a quarter of a century and I'm decent at it, it still helps to have someone say, hey, man, I've been catching them this way, because then it can give you some starting points, some ideas. So you go out to the lake, the river, and you're trying one thing and you can't get it, but you remember that the guy on YouTube or your friend on Facebook said this or that. It helps. It really does. I don't care how good you are. If you have an open mind, at least, not doc talk anyways, but it does help to have a little bit of information. Let's just say that, depending on what you're going to do with it, it may work out or may not, but that's kind of how I look at things. I want to try to help out as much as I can. So heck yeah, Mario with Let's Get It Fishing. Nice to see you on tonight. So, what the hell did the trout guy tell you? Oh, good thing you caught me. All right, so fill you in on the tournament. I sure will. Okay, so we're going to fill you in on the tournament. We're going to tell you what the trout dude said, and then I'll tell you where Salt Springs is actually up by you, kind of, Marco. It's to the east of Stockton. So it's probably about an hour or so from you. It's a great little lake. It's only got largemouth bass in it. So it either holds monsters or medium-sized fish. I mean, and the dinks get ate by the bigger fish. There's not a lot of small fish there. And it's a largemouth only reservoir. There's no spotted bass. It is one hell of a place to fish. So if I could say 3 hidden gems, if you want to know 3 hidden gems in the state of California that are very, very underrated lakes with monster bass, and we're not talking like, if you're in the Bay Area, hit up Pinto Lake in Watsonville. 14-pounder caught out of that little thing. Dude, oh my God, it's got monsters. There's some lakes in the Bay Area that you can only fish with a kayak that are stocked with trout, and they've got monster bass. And guys can't take their bass boats in there. And the roads are kind of crazy. I mean, it's just a real far drive, tiny little lake, but dudes take the kayaks and go smash them. So go look into the Bay Area if you're interested in that. But 3 lakes you can take your bass boat to, going to be Salt Springs Valley Reservoir, Lake Success, and Los Banos Creek Reservoir. So if you're in the Bay Area, if you feel like coming over, towards Los Banos, come from San Jose, Gilroy, Hollister, any of that, Santa Cruz, Monterey, come over the hill, check out Los Banos Creek Reservoir. If you're in the Central Valley, go check out Los Banos Creek Reservoir. Multiple double digits, monster bass, and not pressured at all. A very low-key lake that not a lot of people go fish. Same thing with Success. Success is up by Fresno, or down by Fresno from where I'm at. So you're in the Central Valley, Fresno, Bakersfield area, even Southern California, Lake Success is the one you're going to want to hit up. Northern California and Central Valley, you need to check out Salt Springs Valley Reservoir. Badass lakes, the 3 of those lakes. Okay, what the trout guy told me. This is a really important tip. Sorry. Okay, so there's this guy I know who is like the trout god. He's salmon trout master. Like, he catches trout like you, and salmon and kokanee, and he just catches mondos. He's always on them. He never sucks. Dude could literally have a guide business. I've seen all the pictures. Badass. And he said, man, he goes, yeah, if the lake is 55 and cooler, 55 degrees or colder, so look, if it's 54 and below, the trout are almost always the top 10 feet of the water column. And they can be 1 foot ashore. They can be over 300 feet of water, but they will be in that 10 to 15 foot water column. So if the trout are in 10 to 15 feet, where do you think all the normal sized bass are going to be? They're going to be deep. They're going to be deep. So if it's 54 and below, you can fish shallow, but you should probably try checking in, 50, 60, 70 feet of water. Now, here's the key. If it's 55 and below, those trout go deep. The trout go down. And above. Sorry, it's 55 and below and above. So when you're coming to pre-spawn time, when you're coming to February, right after January, it's cold, trout are out, bass are deep usually. The big bass are up eating those trout, but the majority of bass are down there deep, right? And 55 happens when the water starts warming up and the lake's going to start turning over, and the trout will head deeper, because as it's 56 on the top, it'll be 54, 53, 50, it'll be colder down on the bottom. So those trout will start heading down. When those trout start heading down, the bass start heading up. So water temp, if it's above 55 and you're in February, then you need to start looking, even if you're still deep, you need to start focusing on shallower water. Look for those bass to be moving up. And makes just perfect sense because right now I've watched the bass go from 50 to 70, and just instantly when that water temp went from 54 to about 56, when it was steadily at around 55, 56, the bass just started moving up. They started getting caught in 5, 10, 15 feet of water, 25, 30 feet of water. And then I go and I cast into 50 and 60, one or two fish, not a lot there anymore because the majority of that school is shifting. And the trout, a lot of the times when I'm bass fishing, I catch trout on drop shots, right? Not catching any trout anymore. The trout are starting to move off. So there's a period where they're kind of intermingling a bit, but them bass move up, them trout go down. So if it's 55 and above and you're in February, even if it's the beginning of February, just start focusing a little shallower. Hope that makes sense. So, all right. Hey, Hector, you know it. If that's the Hector that I think it is, I know you. What's up, buddy? Yeah, super tech in the house. You know I love fixing air conditioners. Look from here. Don't make me bust a roll of copper out on you, buddy. Look at, I'm going to do some mini splits. Got my mini split line sets with my communicating wire. Super tech it is. I'm off to fix. Now I dropped my autographed footballs everywhere. Oh, goodness. On a side note, you guys want to see something really cool? I put this for sale on eBay too, but you won't see this anywhere. You guys see who that is? That's his senior high school photo. Last game, they were losing. They were getting their butts kicked. And old Joe Montana here, he did a comeback kid like normal and came back to win his very last high school game. That is a photo of his very last ever high school game played before he went to college, before he went to Notre Dame. And it's autographed, and yeah, that's badass right there. I was kind of, I don't really want to part with it, but I'm going to. I have like 3 autographed Joe photos. I got autographed Joe football up there, so I could part with it. But anyways, fishing in the canals, 100 plus fish days. Oh yeah, Los Banos has got some really nice fish in those canals. One of my buddies, Sal Martinez, he got an 8.5, like a 9-pound bass out of those canals right there off of the 33. So Del Valley, you know what's up, Marco? Hey, Andrew, Laura, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. So, I had to make sure, like I was saying earlier, I got so what I did is take a little trip down memory lane is I went and bought all the kids Valentine stuff too on the low key. So I bought my wife some flowers. I got my kids chocolates and all that. And I got my son stuff too. I want to make sure everybody felt included. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Hope you're having a good one. Make sure you've kissed and hugged your wife or your significant other so you don't piss them off. That way you can come hang out with Common Sense Fishing on his live stream. Any luck in the Delta, Tom's Outdoor Adventures? Nice to see you on. I personally know, in my opinion, okay, I know there's Delta rats that spend all year on the Delta, but right around November, I kiss the Delta goodbye, and I don't say hello to the Delta until about March 1st. So I plan on going back and checking in. I keep an eye on the Facebook posts. Whenever I see other guys catching them, I'll be right back. But I could tell you, if you fish the Delta, where I would strongly look at you guys hiding your messages. I seen you put them up, but you redacted them. I don't care if you guys curse and do stuff. I'll put it up there and leave it up there. Most of you guys are adults. We occasionally get some kids in here, but I just request we don't pick on them. Number one thing is we don't want to pick on each other. We don't want to start fights, but especially when we get a kid in here on the page, I try to make sure that, we take care of each other. Now, I heard somebody was doing decent at the Delta. I seen somebody else. I know Danny I don't know what for keeping it real. So he was out at the Delta. He caught some fish too, but they're starting to turn on there for sure. Because here's what I would say is I drove by the Merced River the other day, and this thing's a puddle. There's no water flowing, so the water has got to be really warm coming into the deltas. Usually, there's a lot of snow melt. The lakes are open, and their dams are opening to generate hydroelectric energy, also just to keep the rivers with some water in it. But we've been at such a bad drought level, really. Well, not like horrible, because next year is going to be worse if we don't get a major reckoning with some snowpack towards next year in the winter. But we're pretty low, so the lakes haven't been flooding the rivers, so the rivers are real low, which means they're going to be a lot warmer. So the delta should be turning on. I just usually don't go until around March 1st, and then I start checking in. And if you want to know where I would be fishing at the delta, there's going to be Frank's Track is where all the bass usually head to. But right now, I would be fishing the sloughs, Little Potato, White, stuff like that. All the stuff headed to Frank's Track. But there's a couple low key spots that a lot of people know about now. But I've got double digits out of there. My buddies have. We got multiple eights. Benjamin Holt, where Garlic Brothers is at, is one epic place to fish in the spawn. There's also another place called Apothecary Cove, which is right next to Smith Canal, which was right by Lois Park. That place is epic during spawn. So Ben Holt, Lois Park area right there, but not in Smith Canal. That's Bum Canal, hasn't been good for years. But Apothecary Cove right next to it has been off and on. And the other place I'll go and I'll drop in to catch just one or two fish, but usually quality. So if you're fishing a tournament, go stop in Windmill Cove, hit the launch ramp that's halfway in the back hidden there. There's a little launch ramp. Throw a crankbait parallel to those launch ramp edges. Then the other thing is go in the back and throw drop shots, bottom bouncers, and crankbaits along the rock wall, but fish the pipe. There's a pipe inlet and outlet right there where the water transfers to another slough right behind it. So, and then Mildred. Mildred is a great place to go cranking. Just cover the rocks and the weed patches around Mildred. And then if you're going on the outside shoreline, if you're going to fish the Mildred side, those where all the tulies are at, great fishing on Mildred. Especially there's kind of like a little mini lake there on the inside. If you can get in there, better watch it though. You can get stuck in there. One tip I would say for the delta is watch out for any washes or drains. Some of the best place to fish are when you have a body of water here and a body of water here, and there's like those cattails and willows and stuff or whatever, and there's like a little opening, and then when the tide changes, right, and the water's high and then it goes low, well, that water has to drain out of one body. So let's say this is a canal and there's like a pond right here, and then you have like that weed edge, there's a hole. That water right that's in there will all come rushing out through there when the tide pulls out, and the bass will sit in there, and you can take and throw bottom bouncers or crankbaits and all kinds of stuff and then just murder it. Mildred has a lot of those. So Mildred's a great spot. So Delta, I just love covering water, throwing like a U-head, quarter-ounce U-head with a little a skinny like stick bait, not quite a Cinco, because I like maybe a Zoom or something that's a little skinnier, and also a crankbait. Yeah, crankbait and a quarter-ounce U-head. So I just cover water at the delta. I'll hit little holes with my U-head, and then I crankbait edges and crankbait rocks, crankbait weed edges, lines, any points where water's rushing around it, and just cover water. Just go. Delta's awesome, man. I love it. What's up, broski? We were just talking about you keeping it real. Just talking about you having fun out at the delta. All right, let's read some comments here. Oh, nice. You're out of Rio Vista. That's one place that I haven't been at the Delta a lot, honestly. So my stomping grounds, because I'm in the Merced area, I go to the first few launches that I can. I go to like Lads. I'll go to shoot. I used to launch out of Lois Park. I give a shit. I just would not leave anything valuable in my vehicle. I didn't have tinted windows. There's nothing that you could steal. You look in, there's just nothing. You know what I mean? And I just launch right there and fish, the South Delta just a lot, right? And South and Mid Delta down to like Frank's Track, all the way from the San Joaquin and the five right there, all the way down to like Frank's Track and a little bit beyond it, Holland and all that area. Those are all Mildred and all that. That's all my stomping grounds. Once you get into like Discovery Bay, I fished Discovery Bay a few times, but once you get towards like Antioch, you head out to Sacramento, Rio Vista, the Deepwater Channel. I just don't go there because it's a lot of gas in the boat. It's a lot of drive in the truck. It's just easier for me to drop in and just there's fish all over the Delta, but sometimes that's where you have to go because what'll happen in the Delta is the big 8 to 10 pound bass will go in giant packs usually, or at least in a pack of 10 or 15 of them, and they'll be together and there'll be multiple of them. And they'll usually be in one arm or one area of the Delta. You go out throughout the Delta, you catch a ton of fish, 2, 3 pounders, couple 5 pounders. You might see an 8 or a 10 here, but there'll be times when guys come out with like five, fish between 5 and 10 pounds, just all monsters. And that's because those monsters are staying schooled up. And they're usually in one arm or another due to whatever reasons, whatever they're eating, what's going on with the sea lions. It's another thing I freaking hate tremendously is those stupid ass sea lions. Like I wish we could hunt them or get them out of there. They ruin the fishing. I've seen a couple easy double digits, probably 12-pound bass heads, just the body's just gone. I also seen like a 11, 12-pounder with the guts just ate out and the bass was still there. It was just the guts, like maybe a raccoon or something got it. I don't know. It's just it gets me mad when I see that, but oh, nice. What's cracking, Racho Bunch? So how'd you catch them at Don Pedro? I heard a lot of guys are struggling. So I'm assuming maybe you're just doing the slow fishing. And I would assume there should be fish shallow, but they're probably in between 25 and 40 there. Might be wrong, but let me know if that's how you did it. These jokers will steal your cat. You know it. I launch at Pirate's Lair and then head there. Nice. I need to go check out some of that stuff. I tell you what, if you're ever down to go fishing together, I'll take my boat, you take yours, and we'll go doodle around. Don't take me to your best spots because I'm going to put it on video. But if you can just put me on some fish in that area, I mean, usually I don't even really need that. I just go. I just need an excuse, right? A reason to go to a certain launch. Discovery Bay is usually pretty fun sometimes. It's deeper water. I do good in Discovery Bay during the spawn time, sometimes post spawn and pre spawn and spawn. But summer and winter, I haven't done too good out there. And I've only been to Discovery like 4 or 5 times, but I've been, the South Delta a million times. So it's like we all have our stomping grounds, usually close to where we live. I really this year want to focus though on broadening my horizons. I gotta hammer a couple of spots because I want to go after some big fish this year. So I'm looking probably to hit New Maloney's, Don Pedro, looking for some really big bed fish. I might also do Clear Lake here soon. I just know don't go to Clear Lake until about April. You get all excited and you go in March or something and the weather's just not yet and they're pushed off. They haven't came up yet. Go around April or something. I'm going to go to Clear Lake and Berryessa too. But I'm also interested in trying to hit up Trinity, Bullard's Bar, Scotts Valley Reservoir, I think it's called, and places like that, and do some smallmouth fishing this year. I'm interested in trying to expand my horizons, and also the other thing is I get a lot of local viewers that are here in the Central Valley area. I've got people from all over that watch, but if I'm doing more Berryessa videos, I'm going to get more Bay Area guys watching. If I go up and do more Clear Lake videos, I'll get more Bay Area, Northern California guys watching because they may think, oh, well, you're down there and fishing McClure, Pedro, and New Maloney's all the time. So why would I watch you? You're not up here, on my lakes. So I want to make sure that I'm fishing all around to try to get as many viewers as possible, to also sharpen my sword, so to speak, right? To stay as good at fishing as I can be, and to just be as well rounded as I can be. And I'm going to do a ton of tournaments. So this next year or two, God willing, I don't go broke or something, because I run my own business. And right now, God, with this winter, it's been so warm. I do heating and air conditioning. It's been a miserable winter. I stacked over 20 grand, had in the savings account. And I'm freaking fingers crossed praying until the weather stays warm and I can start doing some air conditioning work. But I'll be all right. Hence why I've got, my Ricky Henderson rookie card and my other cards out. I'm going to be putting them up on eBay. Here's a Willie Mays and Frank Robinson card. Right? These are the old ones. These aren't reprints. How about this one? You guys know who this guy is? This is the sticker from the 90s. You see all those zeros? You guys know that name? So I'm going to be putting some of this stuff up on eBay to fund my fishing adventures. It's an expensive endeavor, ain't it? You guys know. And then I'm hoping this summer to crush it and be over the hump, Because I started my business during the COVID, right when COVID hit. So it just sucked. I poured my whole life savings into that shit and just wah, wah, wah. Slow and 5 to 15 feet. It's like 5 males chasing one big female at about 5 feet of water. Yep. Yes, I'm hitting Salt Springs, keeping it real. I'll be there. Scott's Flat. You got it, RC. So I'm going to be at Salt Springs on Wednesday to pre-fish because I haven't pre-fished it. I know some guys who are catching 3 and 4 pounders out of there. Of course, they're not going to tell me how. So I need to make sure that I go get in on some pre-fishing and figure out the bite before I go do the tournament. And I don't want to fish too close to the tournament and jack all my fish. So I'm going to go Wednesday, day after tomorrow. I'm going to go pre-fish it with my buddy. And then Saturday, me and Feber will be there to have fun and jump in on that tournament with you guys. So I will see you there for sure. And then, yeah, I'm using OfferUp. I'm doing eBay. I've got a few Craigslist ads, and I think I'll do that WhatsApp. Oh, all right. Well, then, since it's not you, then I'll just have to try to, I'm not going to feel bad if I win then. You're going to be at Amador? Dude, Fish the Dam at Amador. I don't know if they're there yet. I really couldn't tell you, but all I know is that when I had to like jig and shaky head and like Texas rig or drop shot and Ned rig, when I had to do that throughout the lake, I went to the dam and just used a square bill crankbait within about 1 foot of the actual shore, maybe in a 1.5 to 3 feet of water. If that don't work, try it in about 5 feet of water, 6 feet of water. But dude, I'm just going up and down that dam, crankbaiting and just pulling out monsters out of Amador. So Amador for me has been a really good jig lake and a really good crankbait lake if I'm on certain stuff. Now other times, probably going to have to drop shot. It just depends where the fish are at and what they're doing. That lake is a nice little small lake. There's a couple of islands in the southeastern area you got to watch out for depending on lake level. We smash right into some rocks. So yeah, I won't dam all day, right? I tell you, I fish the dam at Amador. I do good. So I'm hoping to beat the brick, the pants off your, well, I don't know what's the proper terminology. I'm hoping to beat everybody at that Salt Springs tournament. So I won't feel bad since it's your dad. But if I lose, I lose. I'm also cool like that. So, I don't care. As long as I don't come in last place. If I come in last place, I'm going to consider selling the bass boat and hanging it up. But as long as I'm not last, then I'm doing good. Now, I go in there with that mentality, try to win. I know I got a chance to win. I feel I can win. I feel great. But I'm never disappointed if I don't win, like all sad and butthurt. It's a chance to learn. It's a day on the water. It's fun. It's competitive. It gets you going, right? It's exciting. So I could never be upset about that, regardless of the outcome, as long as I don't finish last. That's the only thing I'm looking for. Do not finish last. So actually, I'm looking for a check. I'm looking to come in first place, but nobody likes a cocky guy. And I honestly, doesn't mean just because you're decent at fishing that you're going to win. All right. Some of fishing is luck, and a lot of it too is time on water. And so I haven't been pounding Salt Springs, so it'll be my first time out there in a while. However, Salt Springs is a lot like Kelsey, and I spent almost 2 years at Kelsey, like twice a week or 3 times a week. And I got that little lake freaking figured out. It's under my thumb. So I feel strongly about Salt Springs, and I know that Salt Springs, just like Kelsey, can really kick your butt. But all you have to do is adapt. If whatever you're doing is not working, you need to do something else until you find it. Because it's a small little lake like a bathtub. All those bass are in there somewhere. They can't nowhere to hide. There's no river arms. They can go. It's not 90 feet deep. They can't go hide off into. They can't be over 300 feet deep. They can't hide under the houseboats. Those little ornery bastards. They got nowhere to go except the weeds. And in which case, they still got nowhere to go. I'll figure them out. So. The 1790 Bass Club. Yeah, I'm gonna need it. Good luck for sure, because we're not fishing in my boat. Um, I'm not this whole year so far. I have not been the captain in the front of the boat. I've been the back of the boat, dude, the net man, catching a fish here and there. Because a lot of the guys I've been tournament fishing with, they're faster fishermen than me, and I never boss them around. I don't say, "Oh, coming since I did this role. I've been on them and I got this pattern." It's a team effort, and if the guy in the front of the boat wants to move a little faster, I just try to figure out how can I adapt to catch fish without bitching at him, because it never works. I've been that way before. Where, "Oh, I'm not satisfied. I want to go do this. Can we go do that?" I'll speak my piece a little bit, but at the same time, if I feel they're biting a certain way and dude in the front's doing something else, or if he's getting them, you got to try not to be frustrated when you're not getting them, and you just fish. So, like the McClure tournament, I know someone asked me to lay out the McClure tournament. So McClure tournament, we got them all shallow. I knew there were fish in 25 to 40. I'd been there the day, like 2 days before, and I knew there were fish shallow. So my game plan was to put the boat in like a certain water column depth and have one guy fish shallow, one guy fish deep. But the problem was the guy up front fishing shallow, he hits one cast here, and he's not going to throw 3 casts at the same spot. He's going to throw one cast here, work it in, throw another cast here, work it in, maybe throw another cast here, work it in. And then he's already covered all the shoreline, so he's going to want to move the boat. Now, he throws that one cast, I bomb it out into 50, and by the time my lure has hit the bottom, he's already hit 3 casts. And then he's bumping the boat up. Even if it's only 10 feet, that movement is way too much for my slow fishing. And I'm sitting there trying to do that drag. It's just not working out for me. But he caught 5. He did good. And so Buff did a really great job putting fish in the boat at McClure. And we came in 30th out of 75 or something like that. So almost 80 boats. We came in 30th place. We snapped 2 bass off that were over 2 pounds. Easily could have been in, say, like just one bass alone would have put us in like a check for sure, like 10th place or something. But we lost 2. And I had one almost rip the pole out my hand, and I still missed it. So I'm assuming if we would have capitalized on our opportunities, we would have definitely been probably top 3 or 5 at the most. Maybe top 3 probably. And we had a really good shot. We had a great time. We didn't place that bad, 30 out of 75. So I'm happy. I'm satisfied that we're getting better. And the day went smooth without a hitch. We didn't get into any arguments. There wasn't any drama. There hasn't really ever been with this guy. But sometimes when you fish with people, you kind of butt heads if you're not on the same page. And that's why it's also important if you pre-fish as a team, kind of you should pre-fish together as a team. Because if one guy pre-fishes by himself and has his game plan, then that's kind of selfish. The other guy, he doesn't, you can inform him, oh, I'm getting them like this, I'm getting them like that, but that doesn't mean that's what that person wants to do. And so um, we just made it work. We did what we could, and we had a great time. So that video will be out next week. You'll see us catching some fish at McClure. My pre-fishing video is already out for members only. I think it should be out. If not, I'll upload it tonight. So there's a McClure trip where I just smashed them pre-fishing. If my pre-fishing trip, I would have been in second or third place probably. I had 2 almost 3-pound spotted bass. And then I had one that was like 2 or just about, and then a couple that are one that was just under 2. So I don't know. I probably would have been in top 5 just by myself, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. So you don't always win. So yeah, I'm gonna roll in Jay's tracker, so I'm gonna be in the back of his boat. And you were there last week. There is no real fishable grass as of then. No, most of it dies off in the wintertime, and it starts to grow back in late spring. But I fully expect, if you guys want to know, I'll tell you, I fully expect the bass to be in 4 possible different locations. One will be stacked along the dam in the rocks, feeding on crawdad and things and bait that they can push up and ambush there. The other is there's some offshore boulders kind of in the middle of the lake, big limestone boulders. I have a big sneaking suspicion there'll be some nice fish on those. Then out in the middle, where even in the winter, unless it gets really cold, out in the very middle, there should still be, your graph may not show it that good and it may not be big plumes, but there'll still be grass out there. The hydrilla won't die all the way. It'll die to where there's only like a little bit of it. And that's fishable because the bass can't hide in it. But what they can do is those crawdads and everything else will stay in there. And those bass will go rooting through it and feeding and stuff. So one crazy good technique out there is to simply take a 5-inch Cinco Texas rig, because you're using a bullet weight, and the bullet weight is like this. So it cuts right through all that grass and vegetation. Even if it's only a little bit, it just goes right through it so smooth like butter, and it doesn't get like junk on it real easy. The junk comes right off. So your lure's clean and natural, and it's not like a pile of weeds swimming around down there. So I fully expect them to be there. And then there's 2 northern arms where they may be setting up for spawn that I know of. So there's some pre-spawn locations. There's some pre-spawn feeding locations. There's some spawn locations I know. And then there's a couple of spots that are like all year long. It should hold fish there. So those are going to be my game plan, and we'll see what happens. My lures of choice will be a weed jig, if there's any weeds. Otherwise, I'll use a finesse open hook jig from Bijan Bumblebee Jigs, or also Jig Sucking Lips. You can check those out at Angler's Edge Market, and I think they're selling them on Facebook too. So that's where I got my double digit, or that's the lure I got one of my double digits on, is a Bijan Bumblebee Jigs. I love those jigs, so I'll either be throwing some form of a jig, Texas Rig Cinco, probably going to be a super big key arsenal, tool in my arsenal, and I might be throwing something like a crank or a jerk bait along the dam. A Ned rig or a Nico rig is probably going to be my go-to for the shore stuff. And if I have to offshore fish and I can find them, I'll be drop shotting at worst if I have to. Because I'm not one of them fools that'll say, oh, I don't do that. I don't care how much I hate what I'm doing. If it's catching fish, then that's what I'm doing. I don't have any preference. If it's putting fish in the boat, I do not care one bit, because that's all I care about. So, I mean, of course, crankbaiting and spinner baiting is fun. But if I have to drop shot and I'm catching good fish, then I'm going to drop shot with a big old smile on my face. Like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever works. So that's going to be my game plan. I'll be out at Salt Springs Wednesday to get my feet wet. and then Saturday will be the tournament. So, hey, Jesus Garcia, nice to see you on. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for joining, everybody. I appreciate it. If you guys get a chance, smash that like button for me. Yeah, an LV 500 is one of my awesome baits that I love using in those situations. I just don't know about as the weather warms up. Pre-spawn, it can be a great lure, though. I used the LV 500 at Clear Lake and tore them up. So good job, man. You be there tomorrow. I'll be there Wednesday. So good luck, Bass and Seafood. I love using that LV 500, but my particular way of using it, I'm not a big fan on reeling in an LV 500. I would rather use a crankbait if I'm going to just cast out and reel in. That's more of a cold water technique with a tight wobble or fall or something. Way I use an LV 500 is pretty much almost exactly like a jig. I toss that sucker wherever I'm going to throw it, far, deep, shallow, whatever. I just bomb it usually. I cover water, and then I just lift my rod and then let the LV come up and then fall. And then I wait a second, reel my slack in, and I just do that. That's almost the exclusive way that I work an LV 500, unless it's in the summertime. I may burn them, or when I see a big school down below me, I'll drop it into them and I'll yo-yo it. Other than that, I just love using an LV like a jig. If you guys haven't tried it before, oh, it's awesome. And I don't care if there's weeds and grass. If you do it right and you double hit it, it'll rip right out of that stuff. It will not get stuck. You won't have a bunch of stuff. I'll throw LV 500s and rocks and craggles and all that shit. The only thing you don't want to throw an LV 500 in is wood. Do not throw an LV 500 in wood. That would be a very stupid mistake in my opinion. But hey, might work. I'm just not trying it. I'll use it in grass, hydrilla. I'll use it in weeds. I'll use it in open water, rocks. It doesn't matter. Dirt. Yep, slow yo-yo. That's the trick. That's my favorite way to use it. If I'm not fishing an LV 500 that way, 99% sure I'm not fishing an LV 500. Unless, like I said, it's over open water and graph Game Boy fishing. You see a big school down there. You can drop a Texas rig down there and just count till the lure gets into the cloud and then pop it up and down. You got a good enough fish finder, you can actually watch your line and your little lure go down, and then you can just, you know what I mean? You don't even need a live scope. If your fish finder is dialed in right, you can actually see the fish move towards stuff. So, for example, there'll be times where I'll see some fish, maybe 5 feet suspended off the bottom, 2 or 3. I'll drop my drop shot or lure down, and you'll see as the graph is moving in real time, it will start like this, and then you'll start to see the fish going down, and then bloop, you get a bite, and then all of a sudden when you're fighting the fish, you'll see the fish coming up on your fish finder. It's awesome. And if your fish finder is dialed in right, you'll even see your line. You'll see a little tiny blue line going down with your lure, little tiny little mark for your lure. So I love Game Boy fishing. It's like cheating, but it gets to a point like I can't afford live scope. Maybe that's why I talk smack about it. I'm sure a lot of people got them, but it's going to get to a point where almost tournament fishing won't be fun anymore. Won't even be worth it when all the live scope guys are just always winning. It's like if you don't have it, because let's put it to you this way. You can have $100,000, 300 horsepower badass bass boat. I can have a $5,000, 90 horsepower bass boat, but it's your skills, but your tools also that help. So your pole, your reel, your lures, your line, and your fish finders are ultra important. Only thing the boat helps with is to get you there a little faster. So if there's one spot on the lake that has double digits or monsters, and that's where you have to be, and you got a decent number pulled, then that big ass boat with that big old motor matters. And then you can get to that spot first. And if you don't, then you have to wait till someone pulls off of it, and then you can go jump on it. But I don't ever like to fish like that, because even if the day before I was catching them there, Next day, they may be a little bit, they may have moved. Now, yes, I'll go to that spot, I'll try that, but I'll never box myself in that I have to be on this one, rock pile, or I have to be right here. Sometimes that is what the key is. But again, unless you're boat number 1 or 2, like boat 1 through 5, what the hell does it matter with your big old motor? Unless you're fishing a lake that's so huge that you could be boat number 30 and these guys could leave way before you, and you got that, you can go 80 miles an hour and they're going 40, and you're covering such a distance that you can actually pass them. All right, fine. But to me, that's not worth spending that 60 to 80,000. If it floats and it has a big enough deck, you can be comfortable and put your lures and your gear on it. That's all that matters. Other than, are you using, because you could have $100,000 bass boat, but if you're using cheap or the wrong stuff, not necessarily cheap, because I use cheap stuff all the time, but if you're using just the wrong gear, the wrong lures, you're running around throwing a crankbait all day and the bass are in 50 feet of water and want a drop shot, you're not going to do very good. You might catch a couple. And vice versa. They're all up shallow and they want crankbaits and spinnerbaits and stuff, and you're out soaking your worm, you're probably going to have a tough day, right? Doesn't matter about the boat. That's just how I've always felt. My first 12, I think I've told you guys 100 times, man. I've got 12 or 13 of them. But I know for a fact my first 12 have all came fishing in a blow-up rubber raft. All of these I got fishing in a rubber raft against, bass boats. So it ain't the boat that makes a fisherman. Time on water. So what finder do I use? I just got a Humminbird Helix 8. So nothing too special. On the front, I have a Lowrance triple shot, but I hate it. It's garbage. I don't suggest anyone get it. Transducer's too big, sensitive, breaks all the time. And it's not that bad. My problem is my stupid trolling motor that I have. My trolling motor that I have is the Tarova. And unfortunately, when I was all excited and I took my life savings to buy to start my air conditioning company, I had put aside just a little bit because I knew I wanted to buy a cheap old boat. And I found this Nitro, it was $6,500, immaculate, brand new, dang near, barely any hours on the motor, runs like a champ, not a scratch on it. And I have screwed that boat up in the last 2 years because I fish 2-3 days a week. That boat gets beat up because I just fish it so much. But I take good care of it. But what I did is I had some extra money. I went down to Bass Pro Shops, all eager-eyed and bright-eyed and noob, not knowing what I'm doing. And the salesman dude, I was asking what trolling motors were, looking at all the trolling motors. He sold me a Tarova. And everyone and their mom now tells me you can't have a fish finder on a Tarova. And I know that now. Because what the Tarova will do is, unlike an Ultrex or others, the Tarova will spin more than one time. It will spin sometimes up to 2 or 3 times in one direction before turning to go this way. And what will happen is no matter how much play you leave in your fish finder transducer cord, eventually that motor will just keep going. It'll do a spin, and then it'll be facing this way, and then it'll decide it's already, so your motor's like this. And let's just say it needs to go over here. Instead of just going like that, it'll go like this, spin this way, go all the way around, and then meet that, right? And then let's say it's got to go to here, right? Then it'll go there. And then if it has to go back to here because the wind changes, again, instead of just making that small correction and knowing that's the shortest distance, stupid ass trolling motor will do that again. And eventually it'll just wrap your thing up. And the motor is so strong, it'll snap your transducer cord in half. So the Tarova is a piece of shit. Do not get that trolling motor. I'm so pissed. I wish I could just take it back, but it's already been too long and too late before I realized all the issues. So it's funny, the way I fish, if you look at my last video or my next one, I think in the next one it's got it. I took the Helix 8. This is how I solved my problem. Took the Helix 8 and it's on a really nice mounting ball. And I have it mounted on my console, right next to my console. And what I do is I have it facing me. So when I'm driving, I can graph, I can slow down, I can graph, I can look. And I know the transducer is on the back of the boat, right? Because it can't be on the front. So I know exactly where the transducer is, what it's seeing. So if I see fish, I just have to turn around, right? Then when I'm graphing and I find fish and I want to fish them, I just simply get up, I hit the trolling motor, I pull it out, drop it, turn the boat around, and then I just get up and I hit spot lock and I walk over to my fish finder and I loosen the little thing and I spin it around and then I tighten it. And then what that allows me to do is I sit on the front and I have to look back like this and I can spot my fish finder. And then if I don't see anything, I just cruise forward. And then when I see something, I can stop. Then I can cast towards the back of the boat or I can back the boat up. And since most of the lakes, I'm fishing lakes, I'm not graphing in 5, 10, 15 feet of water. I'm usually graphing in like 15 maybe, but 20 and deeper. So I'll use side imaging a lot, but so the way it works out really well for me, if I spot fish, I know they're behind me. So instead of turning the boat around, I can just simply cast behind me and then hit spot lock and do fish out the back of the boat. I don't care. Same thing. It works. All I need to know is, are there fish there or not? So this little thing is helping me tremendously. Who's fishing New Maloney's this weekend? Again, I'll be at Salt Springs Saturday. So if anyone's fishing New Maloney's, I have a buddy who's been there and he's been whacking them. He says they're in 25 feet to 30 feet. And the slow drag, just like I've been talking about, is killing it. He said there's fish in 5 to 15 feet, but they're harder to catch. But if you go out and you fish in 25 to maybe 35, 40-ish, kind of that little window, that gap in that middle range, not shallow, not deep, he said they're smacking 30 plus 40 fish a day, 2 and 3 pounders all day right now. So if you're fishing New Maloney, stay in 25 to 35. You guys got to remember that sometimes I go out fishing and I get a video out quickly. So it's out quickly. You can literally go to my spots, do what I'm doing, and just smack them. Sometimes though, the video is a week and a half behind. Now, if it's in the summer, that don't matter. You should still be able to do what I'm doing. The winter, same thing. Shouldn't matter. But if you're in a transitional phase where the bass are moving from one location to the next, they're going from like winter to spawn, or they're going from like that summer to they're fattening up for winter and they're going to that fall bite, then you can't really do what I'm saying, but it's a little bit harder. But in because you might have to adjust because the weather's changing so constantly during the spring and fall. We could have days where it's 80 or 90 degrees. Then you could have a 45 or 50 degree day with a bunch of wind, maybe some rain, cloud cover. So the weather's all over the place. The fish could be all over the place. So one week I could be out here like, hey guys, I'm killing them right here. And then you see the video and next week you go and you're like, what the hell? And there's no fish there. They're not biting. That's because in the spring and fall, there's much more wild swings, if that makes sense. Summer and winter, they're kind of locked into their patterns. They'll move, fish move and do stuff, but usually when you find a solid pattern, they'll be in that pattern for a while. And just like when they spawn, they'll be in that spawn pattern from March until maybe May, right? So there's a good month, you can just go almost 2 months. You just go beat the bank and just look down for beds, right? But so my videos, the next 2 that are coming out, man, I did really good, but please be warned, they're in 50 to 70 feet of water on my videos. Some of them are in 40, but they're not there no more. They're moving up. So when I hit Salt Springs, I'll make sure I get that video out to you guys quickly. So if any of you guys are fishing it, you guys will have some information. But after Salt Springs, I think I'm heading to the Delta. Same setup with TI2 on console. Yep. And then I just turn it around. Oh, you need help reading the fish? Man, let me know. I'll do a video or something. Or you guys know, members only, you guys get a lot of benefits. So for the people that are members of this channel, I try to provide you with perks and things that I don't provide to the normal people. Now, I'm really friendly and nice with everybody, right? So I have giveaways every month for members, but I usually do a giveaway every month. I do them for members, but I do them like every other month for subscribers. And I also give all members get early access to my videos. So that's another reason if you're watching my video, it might be a week or two late because I went fishing, let's say on a Monday. I put the video out on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I let members get it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I don't usually ever release videos on the weekend because they just don't get good traction. So then you might have to wait till Monday, and a whole week in fishing can be a big difference on where the fish are at and what they're doing. So again, to you members, you can also reach out to me and special request stuff. So I can do one-on-one videos with you guys if you want. And I'm not this Bass Pro or anything, but if you don't want everyone else to know, if you're fishing a tournament circuit, if you want something dialed in, as members, you guys have kind of like, I'm not saying it's like guaranteed every time you reach out to me, I'm going to have to jump, because once we get enough members in here, we'll have to kind of play with the rules and figure out how am I going to keep everybody happy. Always going to do the giveaways, always going to do the members only early access. As soon as we get merch members, you guys are going to get like 50% off. I'll lose money on you guys. I don't care because you guys are the ones that support the channel the most. Well, and all you subscribers, everyone here right now is very important to me, and you matter. And I appreciate you just simply hanging out with me, listening, watching. But to those members, they really give me an incentive to get out there and do this. So if you want some help with your fish finder, reach out. We'll do a members only version. I can get on Facebook Live or Instagram. We can do a face call, FaceTime. If you're local, I can even meet up with you. So for members, if you need help dialing or tuning in your fish finders, any of your gear, or you want to do a members only chat, or you're interested in exact spot on spots, or you're going to have a tournament at a specific location and you want to know my thoughts, I'd be more than happy to do that for you guys. So don't forget, you guys are the backbone of this channel. So I'd be more than happy to do what I can to help you guys. So I just want you to know that. Thank you very much. But yeah, I just have to turn that thing around. And it works, man. It's funny. People see me, and what's hella funny? I see people breaking their necks looking at me doing this, and it may kind of look stupid, but I do this all the time. Is I have spot lock, right? So if I'm on a slow bite, I'll go and I'll hit spot lock, and I'll go sit in the back of the boat where I have back support and I'm comfortable, and my knees and my butt and everything. Well, not my butt gets sore sitting on it, but like my knees, my hip, my back, so I don't get all sore. I'll just go sit in the back and fish. And I can watch that fish finder, and I know it's right beneath me. And I just fish from the back. I'll have a beer sometimes. I have Casper be hanging out with me, or some of my buddies, and we're just back there bullshitting and laughing. I play music a lot when I fish, and I catch fish all the time. I know people probably say you shouldn't make a lot of noise, maybe during spawn, certain times of year, but if you've watched the channel long enough, I'm sure you've noticed points in my videos where it's like you hear music in the background, or you hear like a podcaster like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, one of those guys, and I'm listening to like news and current events or something, or I'm listening to music just chilling, and I'm sure it's got to be funny as hell. There's probably windy, right, and all this and that, and there's just this guy sitting in the back of his boat, and there's nobody in the front, nobody at the driver's seat, and I'm just chilling. No, they don't. So I've showed a couple of times to myself, where I've been out like at lakes, and I've seen bass. They were right next to jet skiers. They had a houseboat pulled up. They were just slumping music hella loud. There were girls dancing, shaking their booty. I remember seeing one strip down, take a whiz, right? And she knew we were looking at her too. She did it happily. See her, everything just, whoa, hey there. Like, hey, and they're just partying. They're in the water, swimming and splashing. The jet skis are doing circles, and they're just bumping music, boom, boom, boom. Like Party Cove right there in the Delta. And I kid you not, I'm like 30 feet away just catching 3 and 4 pounders left and right. Once that happened to me, it broke my paradigm on how I thought about sound and fishing. You get guys that are like, you can't make noise, shh, be quiet, or turn off your fish finder to catch more fish because the fish hear the pinging. I'll tell you what, 1 out of 10 times or so, 2 out of 10 times, they're probably right. I'm sure there's times when being loud and music and shit like that just really does push these fish off or scare them and stuff. But I'll tell you what, 9 out of 10 times, it almost seems like they like the damn music. Where I'm sitting there and I can't catch a fish for the life of me. So I go and I put some music on. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, got one on. And then it's annoying, right? Because I'm doing a YouTube channel. And if I play music while I catch a fish, I'll get a copyright strike. And so I might be sitting there just smashing them, having a great day, and I stroke like a big fish, and the stupid phone's over there blaring music, and I'm hitting record, and I'm like, damn it, damn it. And I'm fighting this fish, and I gotta go work my way to my cell phone and hit stop so I can keep fighting my fish. Or you guys might notice in some of my videos where I'll make some noise, you might hear a little music, and then all of a sudden it goes mute for like 20, 30 seconds, and then the volume picks back on because I had to, because the music was so loud and I couldn't get to it and turn it off. And so I didn't want to get a copyright strike. So I just mute that section of the video because I don't want to not put a nice 3 or 4 pounder on there, right? If I caught a nice fish, I want you guys to see it. And so that happens so often. It's funny. But yeah, fish don't care about music or noise most of the time. I don't know when they do or don't. I would assume if it's probably that spooky pre-spawn / spawn time, probably don't want to go bumping music up too much if they're up shallow. But with that being said, when that party time I was telling you was at Lake Folsom, and it was during the spawn, and they sure enough didn't give two shits about the music. And ever since then, I've never really had a problem with playing music and catching fish. So it's weird. I know that just sounds so wrong, though. Coming out of my mouth, it just sounds like a professional wouldn't say that. Just being real, telling you guys how it is, for me, anyways. Maybe I'll catch more without the music, but I swear to you, I've had days where it seems like you turn the music on and the fish come like they like the music or something. This is so weird. I have no way to explain it, but it's almost like they like that noise, like it attracts them, like they're interested. Like, what the hell is that? And then they see the lure and they bite it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping, but let me know what you guys think. Do they care about music? I don't know. Some guys I know for sure, like, when you're fishing and your kid throws rocks in the water, don't throw rocks in the water. You're going to scare the fish. I used to be like that. I don't think they, even throwing rocks in the water, I don't think is a big deal too much, It probably attracts the fish sometimes. Again, like a big splashing noise, fish is like, what just fell in the water? Ooh, did a bird drop a fish? Something fall in the water that I could eat? Or how many times you caught a fish and there was another fish coming in with it trying to steal the bait? So sometimes when the fish hears a splash or a noise, I'm sure it's more interested in finding out what that is because it might want to eat it. So fish are inquisitive. I know that I'm sure there are times when it matters. But anyways, off that subject. Smash that like button if you guys get a chance. Thanks for watching Common Sense Fishing. I appreciate everybody hanging out with me tonight. We've got about 15, 20 minutes. Maybe we'll roll an extra half hour. Depends on how long everybody stays on. If you guys, this is also usually that point where, look, I don't like to say the same thing 100 times and kind of just bore you guys, just scare you off. That's why occasionally I'll bring up stuff like my baseball stuff or my sports stuff, or we could talk about other stuff. But I really wanted to get it out there that the fish are moving shallow. I really wanted to get out there that you probably got to fish really slow right now. Don't get too anxiety. Don't get too anxious, especially if you start seeing them up shallow. Slow down. When the bite turns on, you'll know by how they hit your rod. So another little tip is the bite, the way the fish are biting will tell you everything. So if you've ever gone on a fishing trip and just struggled, right? And maybe all day you're fishing real slow. And then finally you get a bite and it almost rips the pole out of your hand. That's a sign that those fish are probably a lot more active than you're really giving them credit for. and you're probably fishing underneath them and you're fishing too slow and the fish aren't seeing your bait, they're not caring about it. That's a good sign. You can probably throw something like a spinner bait, a crankbait, top water, jerk bait, LV, throw something moving, right? And if you're bottom bouncing, maybe you could just hop your lure and work it a little faster, cover a little bit more water. If you're fishing all day and you're fishing what you consider to be slow or even fast, you're throwing crankbaits, spinner baits, or you're throwing a jig, you're throwing whatever, drop shot, but you're kind of hopping and bopping it around. And then throughout the day sucks and you get this little weight. And then you think, am I snagged? And you lift up and it's a fish. That tells you that if the bite is that light, if the bite is light and the fish don't hit your rod, then you need to fish slow. If the fish smash your rod, then you need to probably fish a little faster. It just, the way that the fish hit your lure will tell you they'll tell you so much. If the fish are violently hitting your lure, or just like when you're bottom bouncing and and you feel that tap tap, that's kind of a violent bite. That's a good bite. You may be able to throw some other stuff. You can at least experiment. But if it's the type of fishing where you're out there and you go to lift your rod tip and it kind of loads up and you're like, am I snagged? And you kind of like not sure, is that a fish or a snag? And you don't feel anything for a second and you're holding it and you're like, and then all of a sudden you feel it move, boom, right? And you catch it. That tells you you've probably been fishing way too fast. Slow the heck down. The bite will just alert you so much to what's going on. So I wanted to get some tips and tricks out there for this pre-spawn and spawn transition that we got. Let you guys all know what's going on with McClure, Pedro, new Maloney's, where to fish, how to fish. Look for those spawning flats, but they shouldn't really be on the spawning flats yet. They should be right next to them in semi, not deep like this. They may be on some deep stuff still because there's lots of fish doing lots of different things. Not every fish in the whole lake's going to just do one thing at the same time. So you may still find some fish on vertical stuff. You may find some fish on hard bottom, big, long, flat, sloping stuff too. But I feel you're going to find fish. If they're there, they're going to be out a little bit still. There'll be some up shallow, but check in that 25 to 35 foot range. Also, look at that shoreline that's a little sloping, a little steeper, but not too steep, near a shallow flat. So if you got a big shallow flat, and then right over here, you have this kind of cut and some deeper water, fish that, fish near the shallow stuff because they're moving up. So you should get them. And don't forget to check in with stuff like a crankbait, a spinner bait, or like Bass and Sifu is doing, the jigging LV or a slow yo-yo. Basically, I like to call it jigging because yo-yo, I've always thought a yo-yo is not like this. Because I know what a yo-yo is. I used to play with them all the time. A yo-yo is up and down only. It's vertical. You take your yo-yo, it goes down, comes back up. It goes down, it comes back up. So when I think of yo-yoing, I think of sitting over a school of fish, you drop your LV down, and you're literally just going up and down with it, up and down with it, like you would spoon fish. That's what I call yo-yoing. Now I may be wrong. I'm totally may be wrong because I'm not, Mr. Bass Pro. I don't go and read all this stuff and get too, I love fishing, and yes, I read some stuff. But I'm not like the most technical, with the names and stuff on what this what do you call technique is over that one, the Jika technique or the Tokyo rig. Yes, I know about them, or the the Inzu or the Inu rig or something, the INU rig. So there's all these different ways to fish, and I'm pretty much up on game with all of them. But sometimes, I don't act like I'm Mr. Professional. I just, when I talk about it, I call it jigging because I'm just barely, that LV is just, jigging it. I'm just hopping it along. So, get out there and smack them. This is going to be that next 3 months is your chance to get a big one. The last bit of tips or tricks that I'm going to give you guys before we open the floor up to you guys is going to be, okay, so someone commented, Racho Bunch said, yeah, the big mamas are moving up with 5 males around her. They keep taking the lure, right? So, and And then before that, he had said slow and 5 to 15 feet. It's like 5 males chasing one big female at about 5 feet of water. All right. Well, when that happens, what you need to do is throw bigger lures. You need to throw like a spinner bait, a crankbait, or like even a swim bait or a hud or something. If the fish is big enough, those males won't be able to take that big hud on, or just don't set the hook on them. If you can see it, you'll know when the female hits it. When the female hits it and you go to swing or you go to lift up and it feels heavy, peg that girl. If you go and get bit and when you go to lift up, it feels like it's swimming in with you really good and easy. It's not that heavy. That's probably one of the males. But from what I've always been told is you can aggravate a female into biting, because what will happen is you'll see multiple smaller males with one big nice female. They're all trying to get in, but she's going to pick, that one, the best male out the bunch. But still, males don't grow more than 3 or 4 pounds. So if you got a 3 or 4 pound female, she's probably with like a 1.5 pound male. In which case, again, a 8-inch hud, the 1.5 pound male can eat it, but it's not really going to eat it. The big female will. So if you find that you're having trouble catching the female and you're getting the males, stop throwing smaller lures. Try throwing reaction. Try throwing bigger and make multiple casts. It might take you a ton of casts. The other trick that you can do is when you've got her locked in with only one male or two males, whatever, when there's not that many, catch the males and put them in your box. Just temporarily, put them in your box. Clear that bed off of the males. So you got a big female and a male sitting there, catch the male and then back off. Wait about 10, 15 minutes and creep up real slow to where you can just barely see where that bed was at. Sure enough, the female should come back, and now she's the only one on the bed. This time you throw the lure at her, and she'll get it. You wait too long, and there'll be another male up there with her like, hey, I noticed your husband's gone for the night. Hey, nice to meet you. My name's Sancho, right? So, put that male in your box, and then you're open now to catch that female. Then you just toss, when you get the female, toss the male back in and go on. It can be a painstaking process. Spawn can be a tough time to catch good fish. So it's fun. It's a good numbers game. It's awesome to spot these big old monster fish. If you're having trouble catching them, upsize your lure, multiple casts, and try not to catch the male if you can avoid it, and just let them keep hitting the bait, and eventually you'll piss the female off. If not, then try like a small 668 hud or an 8-inch hud, and just drag it over the bed and watch that female get real pissed off real quick. Yeah, go bigger. Yeah, I think it'll work. I've done it myself personally, but I mean, that's also, I ain't gonna lie, I got that from like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, watching Tactical Bass. And, they were talking about big old bedding mamas and how the males were getting them. So Tactical Bassin taught me to throw a bigger bait. And I don't remember, but one of the local guys here, one of the local fishermen a long time ago, I don't remember which one it was, taught me to box the male and wait. And once the female's done getting spooked and the male doesn't come back, she'll realize and she'll move back up, in which case you got another crack at her. So try both if you're having a hard time, seeing the fish. If you can't really see and you can't tell which fish is hitting the bait, the swim bait method might not work, because it might be tricky to feel, because the female might barely touch the big swim bait while the male might crush it. Who knows? So you can always just peg the male, throw them in your live well, and wait about 10 minutes, circle back on that fish, or stay near there, but don't go far away. You don't want someone moving in on your big fish, and give her a minute to unspook and then get settled back in, and you should be able to catch her. So hope these tips and tricks help out. Now for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, I'd like to leave the floor up to you guys and gals. If you have any questions, if you have any specific tips or tricks or things you want to talk about, lure modifications, setups, lakes, depths, anything like that, feel free to fire some questions at me in the comment section right there. And I'm just going to smash this beer, open up my next one, and hang out. And if I don't see any questions, I'll keep conversating with you guys. But this is kind of your guys' moment to talk to me. You know what I mean? I like being able to do that at the end of each live stream. I kind of give the floor up to you guys to either talk amongst yourself and include me in it, or to pick my brain and ask me. Now, while I'm live streaming, of course, I read your comments and I'll stop what I'm saying. But I kind of usually have something in mind, the stories that I want to tell. So this is your guys' moment to just snatch the spotlight and figure out, what do you want to talk about? New Maloney's, trees or rock banks. So the trees is where it was at a couple weeks ago. And right about now, there's still some in the trees. It all depends on lake level. Last time I was there, the trees were in about 70 feet of water, 60 to 80 feet of water. And the highest the treetops were, they were about 40 feet, right? So there were still 30 or 40 feet of water above the treetops. But what can happen if you find the right location, and they will still do this for about another couple weeks, is the biggest fish, not lots of fish. The biggest fish will sit in those treetops and look for trout and other stuff to eat before they go up to spawn. So if they're not already moved up to spawn, there may be some really big monsters in those trees. But if I was focusing on trying to win a tournament or just put a nice bag together, I'd be fishing, and then not necessarily rock banks, but like hard bottom where there's like a mixture of it. Because what I've noticed is when you notice it's just all rock, bass don't like to spawn on that. If it's all small rock, the eggs can fall in the cracks and crevices. If it's a big rock, the eggs can fall in the cracks and crevices. Now, in some big rocks where there's a nice flat shelf or a spot, you'll see some bass spawn on those, but they like those kind of shallow, like a dirt, but not mud, where it's soft bottom, but where you see lots of like little shale and like skipping rocks and stuff, not a bunch of big rocks. And it's a hard bottom that they can kind of fan off and have a nice little bed on. That's what you want. So if you watch my new Maloney's videos, that whole shoreline from the dam all the way up to Angels Creek on the western shore, where the dam and the spillway's at, that whole entire shoreline should be holding fish right now. And what they should be doing is they should be moving along that shoreline headed into Angels Creek. So you can do one of two things. You can go into Angels Creek, shoot all the way into the back of Angels Creek, and start fishing that shoreline because it's the one that gets the most sun. So when the sun comes up, it hits that shoreline all day. And the eastern shoreline doesn't get really any sun until it's like almost noon. Then it gets the setting sun. That western shoreline will get sun all day until it's like 3 or 4 o'clock. So I would fish the western shoreline, the shoreline that's basically going to be where the spillway and the dam's at. And I would have two techniques. I would either, at this point, because the bass should be moving up, I'd probably start about halfway between the dam and the spillway where that big long point's at. Probably start around there and work my way up. And then I'd pass the spillway completely and then fish the rest of that shoreline. And anytime I get to real steep, craggly crap, I just drive right around it until I hit that nice 45-degree angle shoreline with rocks and stuff and a hard bottom and a little muddy bottom kind of with it too. And I would stick with that. That would be one. Or the other, again, I was saying earlier, I would shoot all the way up into Angels Creek and then fish out. And either way, if the fish are already in Angels Creek or they're moved up in there, if the biggest and the best fish are already there, well, then by starting by the dam, you're going to waste most of the day before you figure out that's where they're at. If you shoot into Angels Creek, you can just keep fishing outward until you run into them, because that's where they're going to be making their way, believe it or not. They're going to be moving into Angels Creek big time. It's one of my favorite spawning spots. They can be in Coyote and Black Creek too, but Black Creek's a little bit steeper and shorter. Coyote Creek's long, but it's kind of steep. There's some sloping banks, but just not much. Angels Creek has the best shoreline for spawning, in my opinion. So, right now, if I were to go in the next week or two, I'd probably start at the spillway and head towards Angels Creek and fish that whole shoreline. I wouldn't go anywhere else. I'd just stay right on there and just go and cover water. Fish real slow until that bite tells me that I can start fishing fast. Dragging things like a Nico rig, a Ned rig, and maybe a jig. Drop shot doesn't get used unless I have to use it. So I would probably start with a Nico and then a Nico and a jig. And if the jig's too big, too heavy, the bite's kind of slow and mushy still, they're not really committing, or I'm getting short strike, then I'm going Nico or Ned. And hope that helps. That's what I'd be doing. So call me on Facebook Messenger, your place or mine, have a beer or smoke, swap some stories. For sure, bro. Ray, like I said, as members, I am making sure that I am extremely open as I can be for you guys. I'd be glad, Ray. Make sure that I always forget because I know most of you guys, but I know some of your guys' real names obviously aren't what they are on YouTube. And I think I know your name on Facebook, but you'd have to do me a favor and you message me, let me know that hey, I'm Ray from YouTube, one of the members, and we were talking about this. And I swear, I'm not a flake. I'm not a fake. I don't lie. I don't set fake stuff up. I don't like promise stuff and not come through. So I'd be more than glad to have a beer and a smoke and and bullshit and swap stories and come hang out and show you your how to dial in your fish finder. You can come over at my house if you want and see the man cave and hang out right next door, and I can show you on my boat what I do with my fish finder. So whatever is more comfortable with you. The more bigger I get the channel and stuff like that, the more I'm trying to make it a habit to kind of not bring people to my house because you never know when you'll get the one crazy person. But so far, pretty much everybody knows where I live. So I don't mind. It's just eventually down the road, once we get busy enough, it'll be like, hey, I'll come to you, I'm down to meet. But either way, you let me know. Just reach out to me on Facebook, and I'll be way more than happy to hang out and just, have a cold one or two, and away we go. And all you had to do is say beer and smoke, and I'm there, dude. Why were these bass moving so much? They were acting like trout. Pre-spawn. They're in pre-spawn. They're spooked. They're scared. There's eagles and birds that could come swooping out of the sky and eat them. So they're very, very attuned because they're up shallow to what's above them and around them. So they're looking, they see you, they'll dart off. And because the water temperature is warm, they're very active, those types of bass. They'll be real skittish and quick. And if you see them, they'll skirt off. It's because they're not on a bed yet. When a bass is committed to an area in a bed, it may kind of slowly move off. It may do circles. You may scare it and it'll go off and then come back and go off and come back. But when you see bass that are up shallow, like they're about to spawn, but they're kind of skittish, they're moving and they're jamming around, they're looking for mates. The males are looking for females. It's like that courtship part where there's a big school dance and everybody's wallflowers, right? All the boys are on one wall, the girls are on another wall. Nobody wants to dance, right? That's wintertime. And then when the first few boys and girls start dancing, they start coming together and the boys start trying to find the girls they want to dance with, and the girls reject them or don't, and they mingle and do their thing, right? So right now we're at that stage where they're coming up and they're exploring. So there shouldn't be on beds yet. Give it another week and they'll be on beds. Some of these early birds will be on beds within about 10 days at the most, 7 to 10 days. Full moon is scheduled for 2 or 3 days from now, I think. So they may even be on beds that soon. But in the meantime, though, those bass you may be able to get with a crankbait or a spinnerbait if you're casting really far. But if you're noticing that you cast at them and your lure spooks them, you're going to have to finesse fish them with something like maybe a Cinco, They can be pretty tough when they're in that stage. But also, one thing I would recommend is if you know the fish are up there and you're seeing them, don't try to visually fish for them if they're not locked on beds. If the fish are not locked on beds, then they can move. You can spook them. You may see a 10-pounder may jet off, right? And never come back. Go off and it could go, a mile down the lake this way or that way. It's not locked on a bed yet. It's not committed. You scare it, it can decide, you know what, screw this shoreline. I don't feel safe. I'm going somewhere else. So what you can do is if you've gone up and you've seen some skittish fish up shallow, you've seen some good ones, pull your butt back. Just get back. You do not need to see these fish and just start fishing blind. Just start casting out where they should be and fishing and taking your time. And you'll notice that those skittish fish won't be so skittish when you're not right up their butt. Because there's a number one rule. If you can see the fish can see you. Pretty much simple as that. I mean, why do you think, they're underwater, they can see everything, right? So when this boat rolls up and you can see down into the water and see them, you sure as hell bet they can see you most of the time, right? So a bass that sees you in this mode is not going to be likely to hit something right in front of you. So back off and cast at it blindly, and I think you're going to do a lot better. No problem. Fished at the Thermalito After Bay on Saturday. Water temp got up to 61. It was tough bite after 9 a.m. I caught more steelhead than bass. Weird day. Yeah, 61. The bass should be pulling up to spawn. However, the moon phase isn't quite there yet. And you're probably experiencing a little bit of what Racho is talking about. You're probably sometimes, if your eyesight isn't that good too, I don't know about yours, but what can happen is there could be 1,000 fish up shallow, and then you go and you pull your boat and they're not locked on beds yet. They're kind of in that pre-spawn skittery stage, moving around, and you pull your boat up and they just go, and they get, screw you, man. And you're looking, where are these bass? And you cruise inshore, and you might see one or none, because what's happening is these fish are seeing you and booking it before you see them. And they're that good. So sometimes your eyesight's really good, your trolling motor speed is really slow, and then you have to know what side is the sun on, because you got to work with that. Water might have a glare, and then if the sun's behind you, your shadow may be casting in front of you 6 feet. So the bass may be seeing your shadow before they see you. So there's a lot that can do with it. But if you get that trolling motor speed just right to where you're not too fast and you're really slow and the sun's at the right positioning, you can usually get up there, and when they're in pre-spawn, you can see them, and you might be able to see them before they see you, in which case you can slowly back away or just start casting past them. Do never, at this stage, do not cast at the fish. You'll spook them. They will move out of the way. Always cast, if you got a fish that's kind of out in 5-10 feet and it's kind of suspended, just kind of moving around slow, looking around, doing this thing. Here's what you want to do. Don't cast past it, because your line will fall right on that fish and scare it. You'll feel the line go across his back. What the, you know what I mean? So what you do is cast past it, but right to the side of it, so that you can work your lure. You cast past it, the splash bass is like, what the fuck? And it sees the lure sinking, and it might go check it out. And then you work your lure near it, and it can pin it or hit it and go after it. But if you cast past it, by the time that bass is, not skittish, and if it's going to go up and look, your line can fall right on it. So you never want to cast directly over the fish into the water, right to the side of it, because you don't want your line to hit that fish. And if you cast before it, all you're going to do is pull that fish towards you if it does that. And that's never really a good idea. You always want to go past it and bring it to you. So I would assume you were either fishing too shallow, maybe, and some of the fish right now, some of the fish are going to be in like 15 to 35 feet deep, and some of them are going to be right up in 5 feet of water. Thermalito After Bay, if I remember correctly, that is the little forebay area for Oroville, right? and I've never fished it before. I've driven by it a bunch of times, but if I remember correctly, like Thermalito After Bay is like this gigantic, shallow, super shallow, like marshland. It's like only 5, 6 feet. It's like the Delta, right? It's like super shallow, most of it, and there's some deep spots. It's not like an actual lake per se, that I'm used to fishing. It's more like a Florida lake, or it's like the Delta. It's super, super shallow. And one of the things that can happen with the bodies of water that are super, super shallow is, even though it may be 61 at the end of the day, when the night comes and it gets into the 40s in the morning, the water temp might be back at 51. And if you're having those wild temp swings, then you're not at that average for those fish to be where they should be. So I honestly can't give you like the best tips and tricks for that, because I haven't fished Thermalito After Bay. And if I did, I think I did it once, like a really long time ago. But the principles should hold the same. It really depends if you're having a steady temperature in a certain range. And sometimes that's fishing, though, kicks all of our butts, right? I get my butt kicked all the time. And I'm happy to tell you guys that, I don't win every time I go out there. Sometimes they go out and catch 2 or 3 fish. I don't really ever get skunked barely, but I do. It happens. So, yeah. But I hope these tips and tricks help out if you go fishing back there. Try doing something a little different. Pay attention to what the water temperature is in the morning. High, polarized sunglasses, and fish slow. Right? Yeah, that's what I thought. I haven't been to Thermalito After Bay. Like, I've been there, like I fished it I think one time. And I've been there many times as far as driving past it to go to Orville. And uh and there's lots of good fish I've heard in there. It's just, with as shallow as it is, uh, those lakes can be pretty tricky, just like Kelsey can be in Salt Springs. So sometimes you have to drag baits, and then when the visibility is that bad, don't even bother trying to look for beds. If you can only see 2, 3 feet down, then don't sight fish. Take your time and just fish, blind fish. Where should they be? Where do you think they'll be? And just cast and take your time and fish slow. A lot of the times we get too excited because we know it's about to be that time, and we just fish a little too fast. And like I said, one way to know is when you do get bit, the bite will tell you whether you're fishing too fast or too slow. So if you're struggling and all day you're fishing slow and you get bit once and it's a decent bite, you're probably fishing too slow. Try speeding it up, changing a few different lures and changing some locations maybe. If you're fishing and you're fishing fast all day, and one moment you cast out and you let your pole sit and you go to get into something and open up a beer or crack or eat a sandwich, and you're letting your pole sit there, and all of a sudden you start getting bit, that's a pretty good sign you're fishing way too fast and you need to slow down. So pay attention to like what's happening, and it'll give you a lot of information. Appreciate you guys. Good questions tonight. Great live stream tonight. I appreciate everybody on. I'm down to hang out a little bit longer. I'm going to smash this beer and open this one. So, if you guys have any more things you guys want to talk about, now's the time. Fire it out. Get it out there. I'll be glad to chat before we get off for the night. And I'll be back. I think my next live stream, it would normally be Wednesday, but I'm going to be in Salt Springs Wednesday. I don't think I'll be back in time for it. So I'll probably be doing the live stream Thursday, because I don't know what the point would be to have another live stream after tonight when we'd probably just be talking about the same stuff. I want to have something new to share with you guys. So after Wednesday, if I wait till Thursday, I'll get to talk about Salt Springs and any updates and changes. And if you guys go out there and fish and you have any questions, then you guys can bring them to me Thursday. We can all chat, have a good time, and see where it goes, And if you're interested in hearing what I feel about current events, news, politics, games, video games, TV shows, and any of that, check out my other channel, Common Sense Talks. Once I get more people over there, I'd love to start making it a regular a regular thing to live stream over there too. Then we can just sit and hang out and talk about all kinds of cool stuff. I could go forever in a day and never shut up. I got ADHD, man. So this little rat cage spins sometimes, and I'm more than happy to yap at, all day long. I love talking and conversating. So and fishing is just one subject, and there's a lot of stuff to cover in that one subject. So I could talk all night on fishing. But if you're interested in talking about other stuff, personal things, you're talking about, all kinds of different stuff, then go check out Common Sense Talks. It's my same page, same guy. It's just a much smaller channel. Obviously, YouTube doesn't like those kind of channels growing right now. It's kind of like the big dogs are already set, and those small podcasters that talk about that kind of stuff, we just don't really get a lot of traction. But I don't want to bore you guys with that here. This is our fishing channel. So if you're interested, go check that out. Otherwise, fire away if you guys got a couple more questions. But again, I keep talking about drinking this beer and it's still in my hand. Ooh, look what I found. Holy shit. I didn't even realize I still had these. I don't think I should show this on YouTube, though. Maybe some other time. Members only. I'll show you what I just found on my desk. Caught fish on glide baits and A-rigs. Steelhead hitting the LV 500. Nice. Yeah, I love catching fish on stuff like the A-rig and the LV 500. And to be very honest with you, I'm a bit of a noob at swim bait fishing. And the last couple trips, I've spent like about an hour swim bait fishing and talking to you guys and wanting to make a video, but I haven't been able to bring myself to do a video where I don't catch any fish. I don't know, what would you guys feel about that? Where I do a video and I spend some time on the lake and maybe I catch one fish, two fish, maybe I catch none fish. But would you guys be interested in seeing me outside of my comfort zone and box, throwing things like a HUD, throwing things like a glide bait, in which case I'd be glad to BS. I'd be glad to just talk and have fun on the video. I'd be glad to tell you what I'm thinking. I'd be glad to try, and you never know, I might catch some monsters, right? Or just might catch some average fish. Either way, I would be more than happy to do that. It's just my confidence level with the big swim baits is not there yet. I don't have the expensive gear, the expensive reels, the expensive rods, the expensive line to throw the expensive swim baits. And I've tried like with some S-wavers and some Sneaky Pete's, and that's what I've been throwing, and I got a HUD or two. So I've been trying, and I've been recording it too, but I just keep deleting the videos because like I don't catch anything on them yet. So it's been a struggle for me this last 2 years. I have caught fish on swim baits before and on big swim baits. It's just this last few years has really been, because I've got this YouTube channel going. It's almost like the old school me is hard to fish that way again, because I'm more concerned with putting together a limit. I'm more concerned with catching fish and putting you guys on them and sharing that information. And the old me used to go fishing 2-3 times a week, right? And I might go, out of those 3 times, I might get skunked once. And then the other trip, I might barely catch anything. But usually every once in a while, man, I'll be catching some monsters or some nice ones. And it would be on things like swim or spin bait or spinner bait, on things like A-rigs, on things like crankbaits and jerk baits and top water. And even I'll force myself to throw that stuff, even when it's not really that productive, but yet I'll still catch some fish on it. And so, just let me know what you guys think. I'd be glad to get out there and toss a Sneaky Pete or an S-waver around for a while and shoot the breeze with you. But, that's where I'm coming from. So it's been a little tough. But I've seen videos of like Greg Blanchard and others where he literally puts a video out and he don't catch anything all day. but he still releases the video. I got to give him props for that. I really respect a guy that can go spend a day out fishing and just bomb it and record it all and still put that video out. That to me is mad respect. And I'm wanting to work my way there. I think I just maybe need a little encouragement from you guys that you're okay with it, because I just get excited and too pumped up about like trying to not like show off, but trying to like catch fish and be like, see, I told you I'm okay at fishing. I don't suck. Come watch my channel. I'm too much like that little kid that wants to make friends with everybody. And so I'm too concerned, I think, with sometimes with catching 5 decent fish, and we're putting a decent limit together so that I can show you guys and gals. I think it's maybe a self-esteem issue or whatever it is. It's, my channel is not huge. It's decent, but as we grow, I definitely want to grow with the channel, and you guys will get to see all that crap happen. It's cool. I mean, I'll probably we'll do some blooper reels. Hopefully, knock on wood, I don't ever get majorly hooked. But if I do, you guys will be along for that ride. That'll be funny. But yeah. And sometimes I do tell stories on this channel as far as like non-fishing related or they're fishing related. Like if you guys have, some of you guys who have been around long enough may have seen my videos, my live streams, where I talk about my kid's been stalked by a mountain lion before, almost got attacked. I've ran into a mountain lion like 3 separate times. I've seen some crazy shit in the sky that is not necessarily a UFO, but can't be described. My buddies have all fallen in the water. Buddies fallen off a cliff before. I talk about my stories where I've been in a 120-mile-an-hour car crash, flipped upside down, was stuck underwater, trapped, and like had to get out and almost died. And I saved my friends. I've seen a serial killer in real life and actually gave him directions to where he buried the girls that he killed. And I did not know that, or else obviously wouldn't have told him. But I didn't know that at the time. I've got some crazy stories. So if you guys are interested, maybe we can do like a Freaky Friday night where we'll talk about some crazy fishing stories. Like what's the craziest thing that's happened to you while fishing? And, like what's the weirdest stuff, because I've got a ton of stories. Like I know for those of you who've been around the channel long enough, you guys have heard some of my nutso stories, and they're all true. I'll repeat them 2-3 times. They'll never change. And if they do, it's like one smidgen detail I might leave out or forget. But they're all true stories. Like I have been through the ringer, my friends. I've been homeless. I slept under a bridge before. I've been broken and battered and abused and been in a foster home. I've had so much crazy things, good and bad, and all that. So that's usually what I might talk about on Common Sense Talks. But occasionally here on the fishing channel, I like to share a little bit more about myself with you guys. He goes to In-N-Out after all. I hate In-N-Out, dude. Man, fuck In-N-Out. Sorry about my language, but man, In-N-Out's garbage, dude. And if you eat there, not talking smack, I hate In-N-Out. The reason being, look at me. Hold on. Yeah, I know you may love In-N-Out. So before I lose any subscribers, before I piss anybody off, okay? It's the greatest. It's the best. It's a huge. It's just awesome, okay? But before I lose all my subscribers, let me explain myself, okay? I don't know, maybe not the best impression, but check it out. In-N-Out, I'm a fat dude, right? Any burger joint that don't have bacon, barbecue sauce, or chicken, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry again with my language, but man, just burgers, really? And plain ass fries with some plain ass cheese, onions, and some what is it, Thousand Island dressing? You call yours magic sauce? Same shit they got on the Big Mac. I ain't no sucker. I know what's up. So to me, the habit. Ooh, portobello mushroom burger with bacon. Oh shit. Fuck yeah. Man. Good old double stacked burger or a chicken burger with bacon and Oh man, oh, I know I said bacon like 3 times. So you guys get the hint there. So the reason I hate In-N-Out is they don't have bacon. That's like the number one reason. Any burger spot that don't have bacon, shame on them. Shame on them. Anyways, Five Guys. And okay, Marco, if you guys want to see something funny, please bear with me a minute. We'll get off here in a second, but I'm gonna pull something up. You guys want to see something funny? When we're done here with the live stream, all right, go to my homepage and let's see. I gotta find it right here. I'm on this other account here. It's gonna start playing all of a sudden. Let me make sure. Okay, so go to popular uploads, and the video says the funniest fishing video ever. Try not to laugh. And in that video, right? And in that video, my buddy falls out the boat straight up, big time, just falls out, blow, right? And my other buddy gets drunk as hell. They both get wasted. I'm buzzed, but I'm Mr. Driver, so I can't be all DUI, right? So I'm just had a couple beers. But one of my buddies is so drunk, right? We pull up to this spot and we're summertime fishing. And there's this big, like 3 or 4 pound largemouth sitting right underneath this dock, but over like 50 feet of water. And me and my buddy both spot it at the same time. And I just cast, I'm reeling in my lure, and I'm ready to make a cast. He's reeling in his lure. He's ready to make a cast. He beats me by like 1 second, right? So he goes to cast his rod and he throws his whole rod in the lake. Like some kind of freaking movie, like Laurel and Hardy skit. Like he goes, phew, and his rod just goes, phew, and you see his eyes go, oh, and he literally reaches in like he's going to grab it, and he just falls in head first, does a flip right over the boat. Oh, it's the funniest shit ever. And then my other buddy, he's wasted out his gourd, right? And he's bald. Cool dude, right? Shout out to Anthony. He's a really nice dude. But he looks kind of like Bald Bull a little, like the fighter from Mike Tyson. He's just out on the back, dude, passed out, just dead. And then, and I'm making fun of both of them. I'm just like, you're in the water. And I help my buddy out. And then the other dude's knocked out. And I'm like, you're sleeping. I'm not sleeping. And I'm laughing. I got a picture of my buddy like licking his bald head, not licking it, he's about to, just for the screenshot. And the other dude's passed out. My buddy's all like, like it's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's called what's it called again? It's my biggest. I got 32,000 views on this. The funniest fishing video ever. Try not to laugh. You guys want to get a kick out of that? When we're done with the live stream, go watch that shit. You guys, but what the hell, man? We have fun here on Common Sense Fishing, dude. So it looks like, I talked smack about In-N-Out, and 3 dudes instantly jumped off. They were like the In-N-Out wingmen. They're like, you don't like In-N-Out? You said the F word? We're gone. I probably go to my page. I probably lost a couple subscribers. Watch. Just messing around. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. Hey, Ray, man, I'm always down to hang, bro. Just reach out to me on Facebook. You guys know my name's Samuel Matthews on Facebook. I prefer being called Sam. So if you guys want to be my friend and whatnot, I like being called Sam, not Samuel. And I hang up on anybody that calls me Samuel. Like, that's okay. Like when a Hispanic does it and they don't know any better. But when someone calls me on the phone, is Samuel Matthews there? I just hang up. Dunk. Like, you got no business calling me. You know what I mean? You don't know who I am. You're calling me Samuel. But yeah. So name Sam Matthews. Reach out to me on Facebook. Ray, you want to kick it? I'm super down. So see you guys. Appreciate everybody tonight. It's been one hell of a cool live stream. So thank you, everybody who's hung out. Share if you guys are still on. Share this video if you get a chance. Just let everybody know, hey, there's a cool live streaming fisherman who talks about all kinds of stuff and helps out and, gives good tips and tricks. whatever you feel like saying. If it's the truth, that's really important, right? Don't pump it up and say it ain't what it ain't. But I think it's a decent channel here, and I really appreciate all your guys' support. The best thing you guys can do is when you're watching my videos on the regular, if you see some of my videos, please just leave a like and comment on it. That helps tremendously because it gets the YouTube algorithm pumping my videos to more people. And I'm a little old guy with just under 2,000 subs. So we're getting there. But I really, really appreciate you guys. So thank you so much. Racho, always glad to see you. Everybody else on. You guys are awesome. So we're going to let you guys go. We'll see you guys, I think, on Thursday because I'm going to be fishing Salt Springs. So anybody who's going to be out at Salt Springs, we'll see you there on Wednesday. I'll be there Saturday for a tournament. Tight lines. I hope these tips and tricks help out, and we'll see you guys on the next live stream. So thanks again for watching, and you guys have a blessed night. Thanks, Mike. Glad you're still here.